You scared me. Whoa, with that zoom.
Okay.
Steady
so, so what's the latest show about that you've been doing?
Oh, for the launch festival series, the launch company, the launch hackathon will be occurring up there in that building. On the top floor where those tents are, we'll have over 1,000 certified developers. We actually check their GitHubs to make sure the developers competing for $100,000 in investment prizes from my angel fund, the launch fund, and then they'll be syndicated to AngelList if they want to, and if their product's good enough. So that could be another $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. Who knows? AngelList syndicates is a growing program, and then at the end of February, the launch festival will occur. That had 6,000 participants and 50 companies launched on stage last year. We'll have even more companies and 8,000 people this year, and that again takes place here in San Francisco. You can find out about both of those at launch.co.
So hackathons, I've heard that hackathons are awesome. Like at CES there was a hackathon, and like companies like was it AT&T I think or something just give out a whole bunch of huge prizes and developers are really happy. Is it what you're doing?
It depends on the hackathon and the purpose of the hackathon. A lot of people will go to hackathons and they're not there to win prizes. It's not materialistic at all. It's just to meet friends and have fun. Some of them are actually outright parties. People hack for a little bit, then maybe they have some drinks, and they go out and party, they eat some hamburgers and they code again, whatever. So it depends on the hackathon. Some of them have very sort of cheesy prizes, like here's some free software. So it's like a company is like, we'll give you free access to our API, which is sort of like not a great prize. Other ones have cash prizes. Other ones have hardware prizes. Other ones like ours, Amazon and the Google Compute Engine and other folks are actually giving serious credits to their service that people developers would have used anyway. So I think those are always interesting, in Google or Facebook or Amazon, actually give real value to the hackers at the events.
They should give out like a ride on their private jets and stuff.
That would be a great idea as well, I think, or they should just give everybody 10 shares of Google when they get there.
Whoa.
Now that they're $1,000 each.
Yeah. So it's the whole trick is
everybody gets a free share of Google at the Google Hackathon.
Have you organized hackathons before?
This is our second. The first one had 600 plus people, and the top company, WYSIWYG, I invested in, and some other people invested $100,000 in, and then it was accepted to Y Combinator, which is a very prestigious accelerator here in San Francisco. So this is our second. We'll have double the number of people and double the amount of prize money, or maybe even 10 times the amount of prize money.
So since Engadget, you've done a lot of things.
Yeah, Engadget was a blog that was part of Weblogs Inc., the company I started, and Engadget was created by a gentleman named Peter Rojas, who did a really great job, and Ryan Block. And Weblogs Inc. was started by Brian Alvey and myself. And since then, I did Mahalo, which is a how-to site, Launch, This Week in Startups, and I'm launching Inside.com, which is a new mobile app, which will be available at the end of the year.
So why do you do all these things? Like you because I don't know. Like let's say Larry Page, he has $30 billion. Why does he continue doing stuff?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I can't answer for Larry. I could speculate for Larry, but I can tell you definitively for myself that I've always loved technology and building things and building products, and I'm 20 years into my career, and sure, I don't need to work anymore. I got lucky on a couple of projects to make a little bit of money, and that's nice, but I love building teams, I love building products, I love building brands themselves. So I love the act of creating a brand like Launch that means something to people, or Inside.com, where people saying, like you did, like, oh, you did Engadget. So for me, I just love the act of creating a brand and maybe hopefully doing something innovative. And I think on my best day, I'm able to do that, and on an average day, maybe not so much. But for Larry Page, I think, he's even playing for, legacy, where it's not just the enjoyment of doing it every day. I think actually, from my conversations with him, which have been just a few, I think he's very motivated by actually making an impact and changing the world. And I think he also wants to see how far he can push it. So Google has some very ambitious projects at Google X, and so Sergey Brin and Larry, I think, are playing to change the world and see just how innovative they could be in their lifetime.
So I'm just a blogger, and
Me too.
my what's it called opinion is that they're not doing things fast enough and good enough, and they need to hurry up.
But you're insane.
Because I'm insane.
Yes, we've established that you're insane.
I'm insane.
I mean, if people could see on the other side of the camera right now, you've literally got a Steadicam attached to your body like a crazy camera operator, and you've got 17 phones in your pocket. 15 of which are absolutely frauds and counterfeits. So I don't think you're a normal person that you want everything to be here yesterday. But I share some of your impatience. But boy, what an amazing world. I mean, if you just think about it, 7 years ago, none of us had iPhones. And, 20 years ago, very few of us, if any, had broadband, certainly not in our homes. And just 30 years ago, we didn't have color computer screens, right? So a lot has happened in a short period of time. And I remember getting my first modem. It was 300 baud. That's pretty damn slow. And now, we're dealing with fiber and all kinds of great things. So, well, there's the bell. I think that's our cue.
You can continue.
Through the bell? Yes, we'll continue through the bell. Go.
So, 7 billion people in the world.
Yes.
So the point I was trying to make is, technology is kind of like our only hope for fixing everything, and everything's being done around here. Like Silicon Valley is doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
so
humanity.
I'm hoping for more and faster, sooner.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are. I'm an optimist. A lot of things are going to get taken care of. If you think about energy, right now the nuclear projects that Bill Gates is working on and some other people are working on, that's going to solve, I think, the energy crisis. I think we'll be able to build nuclear reactors that are smaller and safer and more efficient. There's a possibility that energy will be free in our lifetime in the next 10 or 20 years. So the idea that you would pay for energy or that energy was a finite resource, that could end. If that ends, that's a really big if, but I think it's actually, I believe in the next 15 to 25 years, energy will go down to almost zero. Just like bandwidth has gone almost to zero. If that happens, then clean water will also probably go down to near zero. So people suffering around the water without clear water, desalinization, taking salt water and making it into fresh water, and purifying water, those are all energy problems more than anything. Do you have the energy to clean it and the cost of that? So that could become free. And then food, and growing produce, a major issue there is getting water and having clean water. So you could see produce becoming free. So, the fact that the internet is essentially free for all of humanity, that was something that was inconceivable just 20 years ago. Certainly not 30 or 40 years ago. People couldn't even conceive that all the world's information would be, generally speaking, free. The ability to communicate would be generally free. So that means looking forward 20, 30, 40 years, I think all of transportation, all of energy, all of water, and all of basic food are going to be free. And so I think things could get really good for society.
What are people going to do if everything's free?
I think they're going to suffer less because, we're not talking about San Francisco here. We're talking about Africa, India. We're talking about some regions in the world, China, where people are very poor and don't have access to these basic things. So, the developed world is a completely different thing. What are people going to do in the developed world? I think you'll see something called a basic living wage being given to people, even if they don't work. So imagine if everybody in the United States, or all 300 million people, got $1,000 a month for free. Even the rich people got it. They could they could agree to not get it. I know it sounds like socialism, but essentially enough to get a basic roof over your head. A one bedroom in the outside of the cities. So that basic income is something that people are thinking about in the Scandinavian countries, Switzerland, Sweden, etc. And society is going to have to come up with some ideas for the post-employment world. There's not going to be enough jobs for everybody because the robots are going to do everything. And if that happens, how do we redistribute a little bit of wealth so that people are not suffering? And that's some of the things I think about. It's not it's not apps or it's not the web, but I do think about those sort of big issues because I can see where this movie's going, and the place this movie's going is we'll just lose, 1 or 2 percentage points of jobs a year for the next 20 years, and I don't think that the job creation rate will go up. So that seems like really terrifying, but there's also a pretty easy solution, which is if everybody got twice as much time to do their job or worked a third less, it could solve those problems. So we just said teachers now work 3 days a week instead of 5, or 4 days a week instead of 5. That could change everything. You would need more teachers, right? And so if we said we go to a 3-day weekend around the world, now you would solve 20% of the employment problem. So as challenging as employment is, as challenging as the problems the world faces are, I think we will solve them.
So,
is this going where you thought it would go?
No, it's awesome. And so,
you wanted me to talk about phones.
$20 phones are happening next year, right?
Yeah.
So that means maybe 3 billion more people can get a smartphone. Yep. But
eventually they'll all be free.
The apps are not there. Like the solving hunger and solving political problems and solving all this. There's so much talent. For example, this conference, all over the place. Everybody's working on their own private little startups and stuff.
Yeah.
How can we organize and make the things that really need to be solved quickly soon? Because Facebook is not good enough.
Well, I would agree that Facebook is a complete waste of time. You wouldn't hear any argument from me. That's not really adding much to society. Although I guess maybe in communications for the Arab Spring and stuff like that, it does help people organize. I think entrepreneurs work on the issues that are important to them, and they mature over time. So if you look at Bill Gates' arc, or even Steve Jobs' arc of their careers, they typically are very self-centered and working on something that really matters to them, and then you see them working on building a company that matters to them and the culture of the company. Then they start thinking about legacy, and then they give all their money away and try to help the world. It's a pretty common arc amongst people who are successful, powerful. It's very rare that they become incredibly successful and then just say, like, I want to die with all this money in a box. They tend to just give it all away and try to change the world and have a legacy. So I am actually very encouraged that there are young entrepreneurs pursuing what's really important to them, even if it seems, myopic or small in the grand scheme of poverty or whatever. Because those same ones, if they're successful, they grow up. They have families, they have kids. So I can tell you that the way I look at the world as a 42-year-old with a 4-year-old is much different than when I was 32 or 22. I'm looking at things, and even from this conversation, where our discussion is going has nothing to do with the projects I'm working on largely. Although Inside.com will have a lot of journalism and freedom involved in it, I think, ultimately. So I think entrepreneurs evolve, and they're very powerful creatures, because once they have success, they look for bigger problems to solve. And I think that's what Larry Page and Elon Musk and Sergey Brin are doing, and also Bill Gates. So if you look at Bill Gates as like the model, Larry, Sergey, and Elon as the sort of next tier, we've got some pretty amazing minds who want to do really great things for society. I'm not worried about society at all, or humanity. The only thing I think that's going to stop this world, there's going to be terrorism, there's going to be pandemics, there's going to be asteroids hitting the planet, there's going to be black swans that we can't anticipate or don't know exist. But largely, we're going to have a lot of great things happen in our lifetime. And I think the world is going to, majority chance, 80+% chance, is going to be absolutely fantastic and joyful at the end of our lifetimes. Chin up, everybody. It's not as bad as they make it seem on the news.